here we are again, Jimbo, in the Barndoors and Banjos boothette.
Yep. Well, we're in the same building. We're just in different rooms, aren't we?
Because our creative differences mean we can't sit next to each other.
No, it gets too heated, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Your artisan tendencies, you're very difficult to work with, basically.
Yeah, and your constant misquoting of famous lines from movies as well.
I've got to a point now where it's become an art form, just in order to see you.
Just do it on purpose.
Exactly, throw your sandwich against the wall in a fit of pique. For those of you who have the sharpest of eyesight, you'll notice today we've gone with kit.
We have.
There's a reason.
There is. One, they're pretty sharp. I'll give us both some credit there. And number two, we are going to do an episode all about our favourite kits. So
that's right.
We've picked three each, haven't we? We've picked three kits, which are our favourite kits for our own reasons. They're not the best kits or voted as the best kits or whatever. These are our favourite kits. And then we've got one honourable mention as well. So expect a lot of, what I'm assuming, a bit of Fulham at one side, a little bit of, well, you can see Roma already, and maybe sprinkling of Southampton on top of that as well.
And I suppose to say, interestingly, and maybe controversially, the Fulham 1975 FA Cup final kit, which I think is a classic. It's just simple, stylish, with, what I really like is I don't even see that, it's an actual FA Cup.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Now that's for me but it's not shock horror, even though it's our only cup final apart from playoff finals of recent year. It's not in. It's not got in.
It's not got in.
It's not got in. And I think...
Did you win that one or did you lose that one?
No, lost. We lost the one FA Cup final we lost it.
And that's 75?
Yes, and you obviously...
Following year, wasn't it?
Correctamundo.
Yeah. I actually have a replica of that kit.
Do you?
I do.
I wondered if it might... I was waiting for it to make an appearance, if I'm honest.
The only reason it didn't...
tell me why not.
The reason that one didn't make it, as iconic as the yellow away kit is, yellow and blue for Southampton, it just didn't feel right because I wasn't around then. I didn't see it, so it's just that the kits I've picked have meant something specifically to me because I saw the teams wearing them. I've owned them at the time they were being worn, so that's why I've gone that way. But it nearly did, just because that was obviously Southampton's biggest moment in their footballing history, so it nearly made it in.
But you know what? It's really interesting because you've literally cut and pasted the words from my brain, which was exactly why this didn't get in. Because although I would have been one at that point, spoiler alert, I know everyone probably watching this now especially thought, no way you can be that old. I'm not sure that... No, this doesn't work if you're going to smirk and giggle like that or that.
I was smirking and giggling at something completely different, James.
Creative differences again.
Something's going on over on the other side of the screen there.
But no, for exactly that reason, James, because even if we'd won, which you did, in your cup final, if you're not either there, part of it, or even if you couldn't get a ticket, whatever, it was in your time of watching football. Much as it's, you look at it, it's
a little disingenuous, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, not even that. I just think you don't feel part of it, do you? It's part of your club's history, but it's not like you've experienced it, if that makes sense.
Totally agree.
And even though my late uncle, who had basically gone to Australia with one of his pals with a view to living in Australia, his last quote when he left these shores, which he told in a marvellously funny story, was, "The only thing that will get me back to this country is if Fulham get to the cup final." Which obviously, second division club, like I think Southampton were at the time, everyone sort of, we'll never see you again then, mate. Yeah, 9 months later, oh dear, I need to get back because Fulham are in a cup final.
That's insane, that, isn't it?
It is. And having, story. I think, crafted out what was potentially a lovely life for himself in Australia. So I think the memoir would have been titled Fulham FC Ruined My Life. But I guess for most fans, you could probably put that...
we don't support clubs that are... they take a lot. They don't give all that much back, do they?
No. You're quite right. You're quite right. But it's interesting that we started with kits that didn't make the cut.
Oh no, that's yours. This one makes my cut.
You won't know. Well, you talked about a kit that didn't make the cut. So, and I think, and what we should say is Kool kits with a K.
Obviously,
so we did that nice alliteration. We're going to be doing a series of these, so it's going to be kit infused fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to talk about the kits. There's a few people that turn
Even
their noses
now,
up.
I still like kits.
Yeah,
but
you do get the odd ones that are like, oh, you do the football kit, who cares? But, well, I don't know, it's kind of fun. You don't want your team turning out in some absolute monstrosity, do you?
No, which happens, obviously, unfortunately.
It happens, yeah. If you're an Everton fan, it seems to happen every 5 minutes. They have produced some shockers recently. But
in fairness, in keeping with the general shambolic running of the, what has been a great club and should be run properly.
Yes, yeah.
Wider point.
Yeah. Well, let's not get into the fact that Everton are propping up well, doesn't matter. They're not doing as well as they should be doing, let's put it that way. But we like a kit, don't we? We like discussing the kits. We like looking at the kit. And there's been some absolute bangers in the past. So we've decided we're going to pick our favourites, but then after this, we're going to go through of the best that we've seen across
decades,
all parts.
Some countries, some home clubs. Nations, all of that. So it's a gift that keeps on giving, I reckon.
Yeah, I think we should do one on randoms as well. There's some, like not well-known teams at all, but just have produced just a fantastic hits.
Smorgasbord of kits.
Yeah.
But what better place to start than our own boudoir, if you will?
Yes, yeah.
I presume that's where you keep your kits, because that's where you keep everything you love, in the boudoir, surely.
The football boudoir.
The football boudoir. Have you got a football boudoir?
It's just full of kits.
Really?
Yeah.
Frosted glass with you lifting the European Cup and stuff?
Yeah. On like really like weird mannequins.
Oh. A little insight there. So what's your first kit, Jimbo, and why?
Well, you know what? I'm wearing it, so I'll go with this one first.
Nice.
I've gone with the 2014 home Roma kit. I think this might be, and this might be a little bit controversial, but I do like a smart, minimalist football kit, and I think in terms of Roma's kits, this might be the smartest they've ever produced. There were a couple in the 80s that are very, very cool, but again, by my own rules, I can't choose those ones. I'm choosing the one that happened in my lifetime when I was watching it, and this, I think, I should stand up and give a twirl, but there's not much else below this, to be honest.
I know what's underneath, mate. Don't. Whatever you do, don't. We'll be taken off the air.
But I think this is, it's the right shade of red. It's got enough of the accent orange on it. I think this is one of the. There's also got
enough of the accent orange. You're taking this world of fashionista to a whole new level. Accent orange.
Yeah, like the orange accents, like the secondary colour that it's on.
Is that what that's called, is it?
Well, it can be called that.
So what's this? Is this an accent black?
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be called that. I use that word. That's just the secondary colour, isn't it?
Accent orange.
Or you could call them black accents, couldn't you? You've never heard that phrase before?
I don't think so, but I don't.
I guess how often have we discussed football kits?
I was going to say I don't travel to too many catwalks in Milan, so maybe.
Well, that's where you've been going wrong, isn't it?
Exactly.
But yes, I think very smart. It's very obviously a Roma kit as well when you first see it. There's no. I mean, the only other club in the world I think that has similar colours is a Galatasaray. Have similar colours?
Yeah, because it's not really. I've never really thought about this before, but the red in that shirt, it's not red, is it?
They don't typically have red. It's more like a deeper red. I'm sure there's actually a name for it, and I cannot remember what it is. But it's got
you can, but you think I'm going to hammer you if you come out with another Ponzi. It's a mezzanine red. It's an October red.
An October red, yeah. No, it has got something to do though. I remember I don't know if this is like across all of the reds for the kits, but I remember one year they did come out with some, the whole branding around it being some sort of like emperor red or like, specifically Roman red or something like that harking back to 2000 years ago and all that stuff, which I think at that point you are starting to get a little bit daft with the kit, but I would say that this is arguably one of the best Roma kits that's ever been produced. And the bonus of this year, no sponsor. So it is.
Is that right? I didn't spot that actually. Yeah.
Nothing on the back, nothing on the sleeves, and nothing on the front. This is one of the
was
cleanest,
that for
nicest
a
Roma kits.
reason, or was that...
I couldn't tell you what the reason was.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what. And also,
the
a nice
commercial
little
manager
detail.
didn't do his job.
Yeah, they forgot about that one. Yeah,
yeah.
But
they got to the team shot and they were like,
we've
we could have
missed
bought a
out
new
on
centre forward. Yeah,
the £6 million a year sponsorship.
Mm.
But it's got like a, you can't really see it in the video, I don't think, but it's got like a little bit of a pinstripe, like a recessed pinstripe on it as well. So
do you know what though? I have to
small.
say your description of the shirt for those listening, because obviously some people are watching some videos, some will be listening. I reckon if you're listening on to this, I've drawn that kit. I know what kit you're talking about, which is credit to you for your, well, I would say you'd be outstanding cricket radio commentary because you painted a picture.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's and that would be an easy commentary to get into, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'd love that. I think that'd be my dream job.
That I'm not even that big of a cricket fan.
Cricket commentary,
but I would take that job as well. I would take that job because I wouldn't have to ever talk about the cricket because no one ever does.
Well, I could probably chip in with that, and you could just have a gad about I don't know anything.
Just what I'm seeing out in the stadium. That's what I remember. One time I tuned in and they were talking about the buses going past the stadium and how many times a certain bus had gone past. Oh, bloody hell! Slow day at the cricket today. Anyway, this was my first pick. Yes. Roma 2014 nice home kit. Very smart, quintessentially Roma, and one of my favourite kits ever. This one.
Good man. Shall I delve down into the Ely bucket?
Get into the kit bucket, yeah.
I should do this in the style of Rod Stewart drawing the Scottish Cup draw. Have you ever watched that?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, I heard you. Sorry, that was YouTube just telling me he's not seen that. Boy, has he missed out. That was coming in my ear there. Oh. It is the funniest 4 or 5 minutes you've ever seen.
Really?
Sir Rod, well served with Alan Stubbs during the away team, and literally hawking his arm across. It's absolutely brilliant. It is brilliant.
Okay, I'll have to go check that out.
I even rewatched it with the family the other day. Right, but I won't do that for fear of knocking everything down.
Quick question. Did they want to watch it? Or was that you just... Stop what you're watching.
It's
Rod
time.
Stewart, sir.
It's been 6 months since we watched Rod Stewart draw the Scottish 4th round. So anyway,
stop crying.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it does everyone good in the long term. So my first kit is
the classic,
the England. I suppose best known for the 1990 World Cup, and this particular kit.
Has bollocks! I don't remember who played 19. Platt.
I am disgusted with you,
Gascoigne.
Of course, Gascoigne.
Well, I bloody know, do I? I don't remember what numbers there were.
Swearing down the line at me. Gascoigne, honestly. So, wonderful kit. I mean, it's funny. If I look at the style of the kit, let's look at the style. It's of its time in that, you can't see here, but like...
It's got like the shiny little diamonds on it.
Yeah. And it's the collar...
That's coming back now, though, all those patterns are coming back.
Is it? The collar isn't really a collar. We've then got
Didn't they have that collar on the new away kit as well? That very very vibrant red. That wasn't.
Is it? Did you have it up?
Well, no, you don't have a collar up. You don't have a collar up.
Oh, I often used to have a collar up, but less said.
Yeah.
Then you've got this strange kind of
little pinstripe underneath with the
with a button as well, so you can actually, if you want to, I think
if it's chilly day.
Well, Stuart Pearce, I think, liked it buttoned up, made him look a bit harder.
Did it? Does buttoning up your shirt make you look harder? I thought buttoning up your shirt would make you look.
You're not wearing it with a tie, are you?
More proper, wouldn't it?
Oh, do you? And even this, the Umbro garnish here around the sleeve. I'm not. But actually, somehow, because of what it evokes, and this is the interesting bit, isn't it? With
what
kids.
The kit evokes, yes.
Yeah, and I think for us talking today about our favourite kits, it's probably because they evoke something.
Yeah,
I think sometimes when we'll be looking at other shirts from other clubs and other periods of time, we're probably looking at them slightly differently because it might be actually that's very unique, or I really like that style, or it's really evocative of the time. Whereas this, I think it is a pretty decent. I mean, it is. I mean, thankfully, most England kits. I mean, you can balls them up, as we know, but it's still a fairly clean kit, which I think I feel like we're on the same page in design terms of we like a crisp, clean kit.
Yeah. Now, look, there is a time and a place for extravagant, and sometimes it's done very well. I'm thinking of Nigeria. Have had a lot of very cool patterned kits, and they work really well. There are a few clubs that can get away with a louder shirt if done correctly, but by and large, I think the cleaner the lines, the more minimalist the design, I think the more iconic and evergreen the shirt is. You might have a shirt that, like, for one season is like, oh yeah, that one's so cool, and then like 5 years later, everyone picks it up and it's like, what was everyone thinking about then? It's a horror show.
Yeah,
but that one's it's a solid choice, Jimbo. It's a solid choice.
I give you Italia 90. And to be honest, it's one of those ones where I think when you're watching England in tournaments and stuff like that, it gives a nice feeling to pop this one back on. Nice feeling, a nice warm feeling. Second shirt, Jimbo, what's yours?
Well, I've got all mine behind me here.
Okay, so you're delving into the Tennant Box of Joy.
The Tennant Box of Joy. I'm going to go with
I just saw a little glimpse there.
Quite a little glimpse.
One. Yeah,
This is not the most spectacular kit in the world, I will admit that.
Okay.
It's not the most iconic.
Don't go on the defensive. Don't go on the attack. Get on the front foot.
I'm just saying, it's not the most iconic. It's not the most extravagant. It's not going to catch the eye all that much. But for me, it has a very special meaning because this tiny little shirt is the Southampton shirt I had when I was 5.
Goodness,
4 or 5 years old.
I thought you were going to say 4 or 5 years ago. But no, correction.
So when I tell people I'm a Southampton fan with the accent, I often get a raised eyebrow. I also then would say,
Is it a Hummel kit?
It's a Hummel kit, yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what? The Hummel did do some, I think bangers.
They did do some absolute bangers.
I think the home version of that actually was a really nice kit from what I recall. The traditional Southampton stripe version.
It was, yeah. But, yeah, so, I often get
you opted for the change.
Well, I didn't really know what I was picking up at the time. I was 5 years old. So we're people have heard the story before. Why from the northeast am I a Southampton fan?
Indeed.
It's my dad's fault. He took us to a shop when we were about 4 or 5 years old, and rather than buy us both a Newcastle kit, he gave us the freedom of choice to pick anything out from the rack, thinking it doesn't matter.
How avant-garde.
He's like, it doesn't matter. He's 5. He's obviously going to be.
I have to say, how avant-garde, especially in living as I do in the city for half my life. Rare that you see kits outside of a Newcastle kit. So quite ahead of his time, shall we say?
Yes, yeah. He just probably thought there's no way he's not going to be a Newcastle fan eventually, so he can pick whatever he wants. So anyway, I'm looking through the rack and I find this snazzy number. I quite like the green on it. I quite like the colourful badge, and I thought, I'll have that. Little did I know that I was to go home and over the next few weeks ask my dad if I could watch Southampton highlights on Match of the Day, and then I would be introduced to a certain Matthew Letizia, who probably is one of the biggest reasons why I love football so much, and ended up sticking with this team for, the next 30 years.
Do you know who I'm thinking of in that kit as well? I'm thinking, which is slightly less artisan, I'm thinking of Jimmy Case, I'm pretty sure, wore that kit towards the end of his career. And Glenn Cockerell, who also played for Fulham, had a great, lovely barnet, Glenn. Nice perm at the back.
I believe this would have been while Shearer was still at the club as well.
Yeah, actually, good point. Or a very young Alan Shearer.
And of course, Francis Benali, who even, seemingly at 5 years old, had the most glorious of moustaches.
No, I would imagine so, and probably was slightly late on the challenge. But
2 footed everywhere.
I mean, Hummel made some. I tell you what, when we get to do some of the international
I like that bit
kits,
of on the collar there. It's a good little that little arrow feature is quite nice.
Do you know what? As a design, I think Hummel have done some absolute brilliant kits, and I'm not going to spoil it by naming them because they'll be in future episodes, but I don't think that was, interestingly, that is very similar, because obviously it's the same sort of period as the Tottenham kit that was actually quite cool at that time.
Right.
And effectively where you've got your green flecks of the Hummel, it was obviously the blue of Spurs, the sort of white and blue type of Gascoigne again actually would have worn that.
Yeah, it's not quite white anymore. I don't know.
No, I didn't want to comment.
If it comes on, it's a little bit grey these days. But so I've had that 5 years old, so 30 years ago, the shirt I picked up. So whenever anyone needs proof that for whatever random reason I decided to follow Southampton, because it's hardly like I was glory seeking.
Well, do you know
that's
what?
the reason there.
In homage to your sizing there, I'm going to chuck in my honourable mention now.
All right, okay. Go on. Honourable mention early doors, eh?
Honourable mention. I've gone early doors, as Big Ron might say, and I've gone in 2 feet with a reducer. No, in a similar way, I'm going to show you this, which, as you can tell, obviously doesn't fit me.
No.
But this was the first kit that I bought my daughter.
I was going to say, there's no way, that looks way too modern for it to be your first.
Well, exactly. But what it reminds me of, it's the first kit I bought her, so hence the honourable mention. And it's also the kit where it's as a Fulham fan, I think it's criminally underrated how brilliant Tom Kearney has been for pretty much nearly now a 10-year period, even towards the back end of his career, and how he has played for us in both the peak of peak, Wembley wins and stuff like that, captaining us, but he's also played, certainly when he started, in the trough of trough and some real dross in terms of sort of struggling to stay in the Championship.
Yeah.
And this was when we went on that enormous run and nearly made the playoffs, which was pretty much under him. So that's the honourable mention one, and it's mainly
nice.
for the mini kit link. I think mini kit link.
So these days, are you? Is the daughter a Fulham fan?
Oh yes.
So full on, she hasn't defected over to North East.
No defection as yet. So we keep the coercion, the brainwashing ever present, and obviously the subliminal messages through the audio system of an evening kind of help.
Of course, yeah.
Courtesy of Paul McKenna. So the second kit, if I may, the second proper kit, or kit, it's like the FA Cup, the second round proper. The second kit proper is a little cheeky number from probably, trying to think, early 90s, 93 to about 96, in the days where kits weren't changed quite so often.
Yes.
And this is a Fulham away kit.
Okay.
And as you can see there, traditional Fulham away kit with the black and red stripes.
The old badge as well.
Yeah, the old badge, very much. Yeah, London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. A kit maker here, which I don't even know if you'll have heard of them. Van Danel. No, very much cornered the market in poor second and third division teams of the era. Yeah,
cleaned up down there, did they?
Cleaned up. Oh yeah. Well, obviously not for very long. So this was it. This was basically, this kit was around the time the club was at its lowest ever point. So Division 3, bottom of Division 3, struggling to get, struggling to stay in the league type of thing. And this kit is famous. I think it's got a couple of reasons. One, because it was a kit that kind of marked both our depths that we'd sunk to, but also the start of the renaissance under Mickey Adams, and that period of time where, especially as someone that was at that point, I'd started to, gone to university and stuff like that up in Newcastle, but suddenly Fulham, in their own little way, we were going up Division 3 as opposed to going down it. The kit actually received worldwide acclaim when a fairly unknown actor by the name of Hugh Grant, in one of his only interviews before a film that he was doing that was much unheralded at the time, called 4 Weddings and a Funeral, appeared on the front of some magazine with this on, and then about 3 weeks later, I think nobody in the country hadn't seen 4 Weddings and a Funeral. So suddenly this guy that was unknown, apart from probably going out with a lady that was rather attractive, etc., more famous than him, and this shirt kind of went. I mean, it would have gone viral if there was viral then, if that makes sense.
It went viral for the time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, here's a quick one for you then.
Yeah, go on.
Between the different Fulham badges, the new one, which you've got on that shirt, your honourable mention, the FFC you've got on the white shirt there, and then the old sort of crest that you've got on there, what's your favourite? Because you've got, Fulham have basically got the full quota of like old school football crest, slightly different lettering, and then the modern day sort of minimalist, let's make it look
And it's a really actually that we might even hit upon another episode there, or another few episodes in terms of football badge. Not badge, crest. I like crest. That. Crest development. Interestingly, I think this was very short-lived and I think if you look at the 1970s, there were quite a lot of clubs that did a few different things in the 70s with their badge. Interestingly, most clubs seem to sort of return back to what their traditional badge was, which for us was this. This changed around the time of when Mohamed Al Fayed was chairman. And I think it was, if my memory serves me, it might have been when we just went into the Prem. And I think it was partly because of commercial reasons for stuff around being able to protect and get more money out.
Oh, like they can't copyright that, I guess, because that's
because it's the borough of Hammersmith and Fulham's, or it's So, but for me, still probably that's my fave. I think it's funny, isn't it? Over time, I remember seeing the badge, the one that I flashed up there, and most Fulham fans probably thinking it sucked. I still can't say I'm particularly warm to it, but you just, I don't know,
you got
by
used
osmosis, to it. Kind of. You know, it's been there 20 years now, so you just get used to it. I guess.
I've got to say, I'm much more of the fan of the traditional older crest of. I think it always looks better than the modern versions.
I'm going to really sadden you here. I've got a whole book on football crests.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go. We've got all the information we need for that series.
The interesting bit is, and this is where the amount of changes, for example, one that springs to mind, Manchester United have made a lot of very subtle changes. Arsenal as well made quite a big one, but
Arsenal had a really nice one in the 90s.
Yeah, with the proper cannon and the AFC in the cannonballs.
Did they have like loads of little like fleur de lis type things in it as well? Is that the?
Look at you with you. But fleur de lis. But interestingly, there are a lot of badges that have undergone very subtle tweaks over the years. But you almost, to the naked eye, unless you're a fan of that club, you probably, and even then, it'd be interesting to see if you notice, because it looks fairly similar to as Roma's always been. Because I always think of when I see that.
Well, you talk about subtle changes. Roma are the kings of subtle changes to their badge. You'll get like the she wolf with the Romulus and Remus underneath.
Right,
has been changed from like something that has a bit more definition in the shadows to being like two-tone. To being more simplistic, and it moves around. Then they've had so they went with the Roma, but it used to be ASR.
Okay.
Then they had this badge, but ASR underneath it. Then they changed it again, and I think they must have changed the badge about 10 times in the last 20 years.
Because I guess the most noteworthy, if that's the right, or the most controversial one, I suppose, in Italian football in recent times was the Juventus one, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that looks crap now, doesn't it?
I think because the Juventus crest was so iconic, in my head anyway, that kind of black and white stripe. It just, I don't know. I suppose it's like, I mean, maybe like all football fans, we're probably for certain things. I guess as a general point, we don't like change, and that's probably maybe part of that.
I think in terms of the Roma badge, the best one they've ever had. They sometimes put it on their away kit or their third kit. It's just the Lupetto, the wolf head.
Right, okay.
Which is the one you'll probably have remembered from like the Ancelotti days and the back when. I think that's the best crest they've got, because it looks good. It's like the Wolves crest, that just looks cool as well. So
interesting. And there's another one. Well, we'll definitely come back to crests.
Well, you're saying you're sad because you've got a book on crests. Back there in that stack of books, there is a book on historical football kits.
Oh. I thought you were going to say use of the fleur de lis across football crests, which is kind of really granular, very niche.
It's just Fiorentina and that one Arsenal badge.
345 pages though. It's a good read. Come on then, Jimbo. Have you got is it your final kit? Are we already on to final kits?
This is my final kit before I've got final and then honourable. My final kit is the 2010 Southampton home kit with Sash. This goes back to, I believe, the first ever kit when they were St. Mary's something association. They wore white with the red sash. Then they brought it back for the 125-year anniversary. And I've got to admit, in terms of again, it's like the Roma kit. It's clean. There's no sponsor. There's no sponsor on it.
Do you know what? And it's interesting you say that with the no sponsor because of the Sash thing going across. You think there's no way. Sometimes, I mean, what I'll tell you what annoys me about sponsors actually. Like a sponsor thing going across that sash would ruin that clean look. Would really ruin it. And it's interesting because I think Manchester City used to have a change kit in the 70s, not dissimilar to that.
Yeah.
But two things, I guess. I actually quite of its own. I do like that kit for the reasons you've outlined. It's a little bit different, but it's simplicity.
I love a sash.
The interesting bit though, I actually find it really annoying that Southampton to me are red and white stripes.
They've had red and white stripes for a long time, but
every it's like they get bored with red and white, or whoever's doing it gets bored with red and white stripes. And even that one around that period where you won the FA, you had that one where you had a thick stripe with a thin stripe alongside it. You've had. I mean that. I mean, I think that thing this year is awful. To be honest, that one you've got this season.
Oh, and the crappy version of the Ajax kit.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm just like, at what point? I don't know. I just think it's red and white stripes.
See, I quite like that Southampton change their kit every so often and go away from the red and white stripes. Because I'd like the red and white stripes, but
really?
I do like that sometimes they go back to like their really old kits. So like one of them's the Sash.
Well, I think that one where it's linked with the 125 year, I think it's a really stylish kit as well.
Yeah, a few years ago, 2 or 3 seasons ago, the home and third kit were flips of the sash. So the home kit was red with a white sash, and the third kit was basically a third kit version of this.
Oh, okay.
They've also in the past done, not I guess because it's still incorporated stripes, but they had this like the half and half thing, because in the past they had the two halves. They've actually had quarters in the past as well. We're going back like a long time ago. But I don't mind Southampton every 5-6 seasons bringing in a home kit that like harks back to like the very, very early days and just changes up, because there's a lot. Sometimes when you're wearing a kit that a lot of other teams wear, and there's a lot of red and white striped teams around, you do end up just seeming like you kind of all the same version of the same team. So I don't mind when they change it up, as long as they don't change it up like every single season. I think you'd be. Yeah. I mean, actually, when this came out, a lot of Southampton fans were clamouring for a return to the red sash being the home kit, because they differentiated them from the other red and white striped clubs, and it made sense because it was a historical kit.
But coming back to sponsors, that would have ruined that. And I think the interesting bit is it strikes me. Sometimes you think. Obviously, depending on the logo, the colour types and all that sort of thing, you can make a sponsor kind of work with the shirt. Does that make sense? But then, like your first one, although it will be forever close to your heart because it was what you got when you were 5, there has been zero effort to me. Like literally, let's put a massive Draper sign across.
Well, it's even harder on a small kit as well, because they probably use the same size Draper.
And obviously, at 5 years old, it influenced your choice of tools moving forward.
Of course, I've been a Draper man since I was 6.
Absolutely, it cut you and you bleed Draper. But it just, and again, it's that one where sometimes people make the effort with a sponsor, and sometimes it is just like
they just slap it on.
Yeah, and I hate that, because I think. I get the fact that go probably the majority of kits do have to have sponsors. I love the fact that for your 125th anniversary as a club, whoever's made that decision to go and do that kit and go back to the original, but also had the wherewithal, balls, brain, whatever you want to say, to go, actually, what would really ruin this is having something splattered across the middle.
It's got to be timeless, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And this is now a timeless kit.
Yeah.
Because there is
and
no
I can imagine there'll be
sponsor.
lots of fans that wear that when they go to the pub, when they go to the match, that type of thing, because it's that type of kit.
It's smart. It has meaning and history behind it, and it's not spoiled by a sponsor.
Yeah. I think we're setting some ground rules here for kits moving forward as to what gets past us and what doesn't, aren't we?
Well, possibly. I think it matters less with this one being like our favourites and being very personal to us. It matters. I think there was those parameters maybe matter a little bit more. I think when we move out of this and go into other kits, I don't think I'll be quite as strict with my picks. It'll just be kind of like, that's iconic, that's getting in.
Well, for my last choice, bear the sponsor thing in mind.
Oh.
Yeah. So this kit, again, is, I think it's reasonably stylish. The reason I've gone here from, obviously, the kit that I showed you just now, which was kind of the bottom of Fulham's fortunes, and probably what I'd known, really, since growing up, to our first time in the Premier League and getting to the top division, whether it's called the Premier League or the First Division, obviously hadn't happened in my lifetime. And to be honest, even with all the investment, even with the chairman, you still think to yourself, well, I've grown up watching us play in Division 2 and Division 3.
Yeah.
Christ, if we got to the Championship, that would be pretty cool. So I think that's why I've picked this kit. Now, but I do think there is one obvious part of this kit which probably...
I was in my head, I was like, is it going to be the Pizza Hut kit?
It is. And I think, actually, if you ripped the Pizza Hut bit off, as a kid, as an Adidas, I'm an Adidas man, I love a bit of Adidas. So I'm happy with the kit. In fairness, the old Pizza Hut red hat with black trim. At
least they've tied it in.
It's not the yellow bit, unfortunately, at the bottom. But that's what you get with a deep pan crust, I suppose. But it's
does look like you've had a mustard accident on your shirt.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones. I think it's an iconic kit for what it is, and some of the players that wore it who would still be like my favourite players to this day. But is it going to stand the test of time? It probably sort of does in a I don't know, a post-ironic sort of way. Because of Pizza Hut. And the bizarre thing is, much as I love the product of Pizza Hut, just putting it out there, if they fancy giving me a year's supply, that probably wouldn't be good, actually. Let's make,
You'd just be getting progressively bigger on these videos.
I can't recall Pizza Hut ever sponsoring, like anyone else or in sport at all, ever.
I don't remember too many fast food.
No, you don't see Domino's. I suppose Papa John's trophy.
Yeah.
But
that was the Johnson's paint, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When Southampton won it, the good
Which
old
I kind
Johnson's
of think
paint
Johnson
trophy.
Paint Trophy feels more in keeping with the cup. I don't know. That feels like
than Papa John's pizza. Yeah. It does, because it feels like an old school sponsor, doesn't it? Johnson's paint
for a bit an old school kind of cup. Really.
Yeah.
But so that was my final kit, and I would say probably
understand the reason why.
A mix of raison d'etre there.
Do Fulham always have that little bit of see now that red, James? That would be the accent colour on that. You see,
I've missed an opportunity there, didn't I?
You missed saying the red accent on there. Do they always have red as the accent? Because you're wearing one there that's purely red, white, and black, right?
There is usually and even in this year's one, it's a round collar, but it's got little bits of red in it, and I think if you have the short sleeve, it does as well.
Right. I was just wondering if that was something that changed often, or if that was just always the same thing.
No. Here's one for you. Why is it? It's very difficult to buy long sleeve football shirts.
That's just completely gone out the window now, isn't it? Yeah. You just don't get them anymore. I wonder maybe the sales were so low and it cost them more to produce. So
it costs more fabric, isn't it? I suppose for a start.
We're just going to sack off the long sleeve shirt.
But the interesting bit for me is, in this country, when do you wear a football shirt? Predominantly when it's cold.
Yeah, unless you've got one like this, in which case this is an all year round summer's day down the beach shirt. This.
You're not coming to the beach with me in a football shirt. Let me just make that very clear. Very
football
clear.
Shirt and like 80s style football shorts as well.
Yeah, really short.
Yeah.
With your St Giorgio Union jack emblazoned across.
I'll go full kit. Full kit. I'm not going to go say what the final part of that thing is, because we're just going to get banned on YouTube straight away. But
already, yeah.
No,
so come on, mate. Last kit for you, isn't it? You got an honourable mention.
Honourable mention. Very similar reason this pick for the tiny little Southampton kit. That being my first Southampton kit. This was my first proper Roma kit.
Oh.
And
I remember that one. Yeah,
we are going back a bit.
Dora, yes.
With the Lupetto badge on the sleeve.
Now, did Batigol wear this one?
This was, I think, the year before Batigol.
Was it? Oh, I had visions of his long mane there in that shirt.
I believe this is the shirt.
Maybe against Arsenal in the Champions League or something.
Oh, by the way, if we're talking about minor badge changes.
And actually, the colour of the bottom bit of that yellow is the same, but the red's a bit different.
It is, but the red on this, even though this shirt is shinier, it's got like that 90s shine. You know, everything is shine. Yeah, but it's a similar sort of red to the other one.
Yeah.
It's but again, it's got it's got some cool 90s details on it with the the pattern on the arm, which by the way is like this weird rubbery material. It's really weird. But again, nice amount of orange, but mainly red. Proper Roma kit. And unfortunately, I think the season 2 seasons before they actually won the Scudetto. I didn't actually get the one from the 2001, but this was the first proper run.
Buy it now, won't you? Or
probably
maybe
for about £200 or something.
Oh, you never know. Maybe some of those great classic kits companies might furnish you with one, sir.
Possibly, but it's not my favourite kit ever, but it has meaning behind it. I had a couple of Roma T-shirts prior to this, but I'd never gotten a Roma kit because it was very difficult to get a Roma kit in England at the time. So,
but Diodora didn't make many kits. I had for about 3 seasons in a row. I used to get a new pair every season, and I got Diodora. I found that they were lovely and comfy, black with a kind of luminous green or luminous yellow. Just really comfy, nice boots
to properly stand out.
But that was our first foray into cool kits, and I hope we've engendered some sort of joy. I hope we've an enthusiasm for some of the great kits we're going to talk about moving forward as well.
Yeah, and we are going to discuss, national team kits, worldwide kits, and I think as well, if we've got the energy for it at that point, we're probably going to look at kits by club, aren't we? We're going to
kits by club.
So it's not just going to be Southampton.
Jingle, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. It's not just going to be Southampton and Fulham. It's going to be.
Oh no, absolutely not. No.
All the clubs, because there have been some iconic kits produced by all the other teams in across the Football League, haven't there?
Yeah, apart from Chelsea, obviously.
I don't know. They had that. What was at the time absolutely horrendous, but has become a bit of a cult classic. The grey orange Coors thing from the 90s.
I know the kit. Yeah, I know the kit. The test card.
That was horrendous at the time, but I see people wearing it now.
Yeah, says more about them, I think.
If you haven't figured out, James does not like Chelsea.
My personal feelings don't come into the way whatsoever. Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed cool kits. That's obviously cool kits from our wardrobe, but we'll be raiding the
next. It'll be from yours.
We'll be raiding at yours, and we're going to raid. No, we're going to be raiding the globe, raiding the globe for kits around the world.
Yep. And obviously. Share your thoughts on the kits that we've shared as well. If there's any Southampton, Roma or Fulham fans in particular who have got
pop
opinions
some links
on these kits.
Send us your favourite kits, and I'm sure we'll revisit them in due course. And thanks for both listening. And if you weren't listening, thanks for watching and listening and watching and listening and listening and watching.
It's time to turn the batteries off, isn't it?
It is. I think we've got to that time.
Power James down and
medication time.
Yeah, put him to bed. But yes, thanks a lot for watching and listening, and I'll speak to you next time, I guess.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.